Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Washington, D.C., early evening. The golden lights of the streetlights reflected on the damp asphalt after a light rain. In an upscale residential neighborhood, the houses were large, surrounded by immaculate hedges, and the luxury cars parked in front gave an air of tranquility, superficial. Amid this apparent serenity, Evelyn Thompson, a black woman in her 40s, walked calmly toward her car. She was elegant, dressed in a simple yet chic suit, her hair neatly styled. Her electric wheelchair glided effortlessly along the sidewalk. Evelyn was no ordinary citizen. She was the wife of General Marcus Thompson, the city's chief of police, a man respected for his integrity and commitment to justice. She knew the dangers, the social tension, and the mistrust some harbored toward her community, but she never imagined that tonight, her dignity would be directly attacked. As she approached her car, a sharp noise startled her. A uniformed police officer, Mark Reynolds, was blocking her path. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a stern expression, he stared at her, a mixture of anger and contempt in his eyes. His gaze betrayed a hasty judgment based on the color of her skin. "Madam, I must check your papers immediately," he ordered, in a sharp voice. Evelyn stopped, surprised. Her voice, calm but firm, replied, "Officer, I assure you everything is in order." "I don't understand this check." Reynolds, irritated by her apparent calm, took a step forward. His fingers gripped Evelyn's arm to immobilize her, ignoring the wheelchair. "You can't talk to me like that," he shouted. Evelyn instinctively recoiled, her heart pounding. In an instant, the situation changed drastically. Reynolds, in a fit of racial rage and misplaced superiority, slapped her hard across the face. Neighbors, emerging from their homes, watched the scene in horror, some already filming with their phones. What should have been a simple outing had turned into a public humiliation. Evelyn felt physical pain and intense emotional shock, but what marked her most was the contempt shown by Reynolds, a contempt that completely ignored who she was and the symbolic weight of the act he had just committed. Miles away, General Marcus Thompson received an urgent call. His wife had just been assaulted, and the perpetrator was a police officer under his command. His anger rose instantly, mixed with worry and disbelief. He never would have imagined that an officer from his own department could act with such brutality and racism toward a general's wife. That evening would change Evelyn's life and leave its mark on the entire town. The humiliation would become the catalyst for a public confrontation and a lesson in justice that Reynolds would never forget. Evening was falling on the residential neighborhood, but the tension was palpable. Evelyn Thompson, still shaken by the slap, remained motionless in her wheelchair. Her hands trembled slightly, not with fear, but with suppressed anger. She looked up at Mark Reynolds, who stood straight, his face red with rage and frustration. "You don't understand, do you?" said Evelyn, her voice calm but sharp. "I haven't done anything wrong. I owe you nothing, Agent Reynolds." Reynolds approached her, ignoring the neighbor's cell phone cameras that had started filming. "You think you can talk to me like that?" he yelled. "I'm a police officer, and you're..." He searched for his words, frustrated at not being able to justify his own abuse of power. Evelyn refused to be intimidated. "I am the citizen you are supposed to protect. And I am the wife of General Marcus Thompson, the police chief of this city. If you do not respect me, know that your actions will have consequences." For Reynolds, the announcement was just a name, a title. But in his rage and arrogance, he couldn't help but repeat, "You think that's going to save you? You're just a..." Before he could finish his sentence, Evelyn, with impressive self-control, jerked her wheelchair backward. Reynolds lost his balance for a moment, just long enough for the tension to rise even further. In an impulsive gesture, he tried to grab her again, and Evelyn felt the slap land on her cheek. The impact knocked the wind out of her. The neighbors, horrified, began to shout, "Hey! Leave her alone. You don't have the right." Some people took out their phones and recorded the scene. The video would soon circulate on social media, and Reynolds began to realize that he had just made a monumental mistake. Evelyn, gritting her teeth, showed neither fear nor outward anger. She knew she had to remain dignified. Her hand rested on the button of her wheelchair-integrated phone. A few seconds later, General Marcus Thompson received an urgent call. His wife had just been attacked in their own neighborhood. Reynolds stepped back slightly, taken aback. For the first time, he felt the gravity of the situation. But it was too late. The scene had been filmed, his colleagues would hear about the incident, and public opinion would begin to mobilize. Evelyn, taking a deep breath, said in an icy voice, "Agent Reynolds, your behavior is unacceptable. You will be held accountable." At that precise moment, Evelyn's calm contrasted sharply with Reynolds's fury, and a historic turning point had just been reached. This simple affront would trigger a chain reaction that would shatter his career, and the lives of many police officers in the city. Minutes after the attack, a powerful black car screeched to a halt in front of the residential neighborhood. General Marcus Thompson, in his immaculate uniform, stepped out of the vehicle with a commanding speed and precision. His eyes, usually calm and thoughtful, now burned with anger and concern. He immediately spotted his wife, Evelyn, in her electric wheelchair, still in shock. A flush marked her cheek, and her gaze reflected both pain and indignation. The general approached with a firm step. "Evelyn," he called out, his voice echoing through the neighborhood, attracting the attention of neighbors and police officer Reynolds. Evelyn looked up at him and simply replied, "Marcus, he." Reynolds tries to intervene. "General, it was just a check." But Marcus Thompson interrupted him in an icy tone. "You don't touch my wife. Not here. Not now." The neighbors, witnesses to the scene, murmured amongst themselves, impressed by the general's authority and presence. Some were still filming the incident, and their glances turned accusatory towards Reynolds. Marcus leaned slightly towards his wife to help stabilize the chair. Then, straightening up, he fixed the policeman with a hard, penetrating gaze. "Agent Reynolds, you have just made a monumental mistake. You have just assaulted the wife of the chief of police of this city. Are you aware of the implications of this?" Reynolds, stammering, searched for his words. "General. I didn't know." Marcus Thompson left no room for excuses. "You knew perfectly well what you were doing. And you didn't just know who you were dealing with. You have just violated public trust and tarnished the honor of our department. You will be held accountable." Evelyn, despite the pain and humiliation, straightened up slightly. Her voice was firm, full of dignity. "I'm not here to complain. But what you just did is unacceptable. I deserve respect, like any other citizen. And you, Officer Reynolds, will have to answer for your actions." The general made a discreet gesture toward his phone. A few seconds later, his office and deputies were informed of the situation. The investigation would begin immediately, and Reynolds would no longer be able to hide his behavior. Tensions rose further when neighbors began gathering around the scene, whispering and commenting on what they had just witnessed. The video from the cell phones began circulating on social media, and the incident quickly became public. Marcus Thompson, in a loud and authoritative voice, concluded, "Reynolds, your career is on the line. And know this, in this city, no one can abuse their power with impunity." For Reynolds, the gravity of the situation was finally beginning to become clear. The misplaced pride and racism he had displayed were going to catch up with him, and the public shock was only just beginning. The next morning, the video of the assault was already circulating on all social media platforms. Evelyn's face, marked by the slap but still dignified, had captivated the attention of citizens in Washington, D.C., and beyond. Comments poured in: outrage, anger, support. Hashtags like #JusticeForEvelyn and #ResponsiblePolice spread like wildfire. The mainstream media were quick to report on the incident. Local television stations sent teams to the scene to interview neighbors, while political journalists contacted General Marcus Thompson's office for official statements. Marcus Thompson, sitting in his office, was carefully drafting a statement. "Violence and abuse of power have no place in our department. The attack on Evelyn Thompson, a citizen and the wife of the chief of police, is an unacceptable act that will be dealt with the utmost severity. No member of our force can consider themselves above the law and the rules of respect. Meanwhile, Reynolds found himself under fire from both internal and external criticism. His colleagues, shocked by the video's release, began distancing themselves from him. His direct superior, alerted to the seriousness of the situation, ordered his immediate suspension, stripping him of his uniform and weapon. In the streets and surrounding neighborhoods, groups of citizens began to gather spontaneously, holding signs to support Evelyn and denounce police brutality. The mobilization exceeded anything Reynolds could have imagined. Each social media post intensified his shame and growing fear. What he had thought was a simple exercise of authority was now a global public humiliation. Evelyn, for her part, did not let anger overwhelm her. She appeared in television interviews, her face calm and her words precise. "What happened to me could have happened to anyone. But I want this incident to serve as an example. No one, regardless of their position, should abuse their power." The entire city, shocked by Reynolds's audacity, demanded immediate action. Under pressure, local authorities launched a thorough internal investigation and announced that Reynolds would be prosecuted for abuse of power and assault. Even within the police force, officers began to realize the impact of their actions. The incident sparked a debate about training, oversight, and police ethics. Marcus Thompson, as chief, was able to transform this crisis into a moment of potential reform for his department. While Reynolds sank into fear and shame, Evelyn Thompson remained a symbol of dignity and courage. The slap she had received had not broken her, it had made her stronger, more respected, and more listened to than ever. Karma, silently but inexorably, was beginning to take its toll on the man who had dared to humiliate a peaceful, powerful black woman. And the final outcome, unexpected for Reynolds, was only drawing closer. A few days after the incident, Mark Reynolds' disciplinary hearing was held in an official police department auditorium. Journalists, citizens, and police personnel were in attendance. Evelyn Thompson, despite the lingering pain in her cheek, sat beside her husband, General Marcus Thompson, displaying a dignity and composure that captivated everyone present. Reynolds, nervous and ashamed, tried to explain his actions. I didn't know. I just wanted to uphold the law." But General Thompson, calm but implacable, intervened. "You crossed the line. This wasn't a matter of law, but of respect and decency. You attacked an innocent woman. A woman who is also the wife of the head of this department." Video evidence, filmed by neighbors and shared on social media, was shown. Every gesture, every word, every slap from Reynolds was clearly visible. The murmurs in the auditorium turned into shouts of disapproval. Even some of Reynolds' colleagues, who had once been his friends, now averted their eyes, ashamed of his behavior. The verdict was in: Reynolds was immediately fired, banned from working in the police force, and prosecuted for abuse of power and violence. His career was over. Evelyn, ever dignified, stood up and addressed everyone. "What happened to me should never have happened. But it is important to show that dignity, respect, and justice must always triumph over hatred and arrogance." The applause was enthusiastic and sincere. The video of the hearing spread quickly, and Evelyn became a national symbol of courage in the face of injustice. Department reforms were accelerated, aimed at preventing future abuses and strengthening agent accountability. In the privacy of their home, Marcus and Evelyn were finally reunited. Marcus, proud, took her in his arms. "You were incredibly strong, Evelyn. You turned humiliation into victory." Evelyn smiled, her eyes shining with pride. "We have shown the city that no one, regardless of their position, can intimidate those who know how to maintain their dignity." Thus, what began as a racist and humiliating act transformed into a lesson in justice and respect. Reynolds, once arrogant and self-assured, learned the hard way that power without respect leads to downfall. And Evelyn Thompson, a black woman, peaceful yet powerful, remained a symbol of strength and courage for the entire city and beyond.